Hello, friends. Hope you all are doing good. So, today we are going to learn about a new concept which is interesting and very much important regarding the chapter reproductive health. So, let's begin the lesson. Before that, I will show you a small video about something that you know earlier. Are you ready? So, let's watch the video first. What you have understood from this video, write it down in your science diary. Okay, the video showed about cross pollination. Why is it important? Because it is necessary for the reproduction in plants, right? Just like that, a process which is necessary for the reproduction in human beings, which is of utmost importance, and this process is known as fertilization. So, today we are going to learn more about fertilization. Now, I'll show you a video on fertilization, how it happens. Write down the notes in your science diary regarding the video. Are you all ready to watch the video?
Fertilization is the epic story of a single sperm facing incredible odds to unite with an egg and form a new human life. It is the story of all of us. During sexual intercourse, about 300 million sperm enter the vagina. Soon afterward, millions of them will either flow out of the vagina or die in its acidic environment. However, many survive because of the protective elements provided in the fluid surrounding them. Next, the sperm must pass through the cervix, an opening into the uterus. Usually, it remains tightly closed, but here the cervix is open for a few days while the woman ovulates. The sperm swim through the cervical mucus, which is thinned to a more watery consistency for easier passage. Once inside the cervix, the sperm continues swimming toward the uterus, though millions will die trying to make it through the mucus. Some sperm remain behind, caught in the folds of the cervix, but they may later continue the journey as a backup to the first group. Inside the uterus, muscular uterine contractions assist the sperm on their journey toward the egg. However, resident cells from the woman's immune system, mistaking the sperm for foreign invaders, destroy thousands more. Next, half the sperm head for the empty fallopian tube, while the other half swim toward the tube containing the unfertilized egg. Now, only a few thousand remain. Inside the fallopian tube, tiny cilia push the egg toward the uterus. To continue, the sperm must surge against this motion to reach the egg. Some sperm get trapped in the cilia and die. During this part of the journey, chemicals in the reproductive tract cause the membranes covering the heads of the sperm to change. As a result, the sperm become hyperactive, swimming harder and faster toward their destination. At long last, the sperm reach the egg. Only a few dozen of the original 300 million sperm remain. The egg is covered with a layer of cells called the corona radiata. The sperm must push through this layer to reach the outer layer of the egg, the zona pellucida. When sperm reach the zona pellucida, they attach to specialized sperm receptors on the surface, which triggers their acrosomes to release digestive enzymes, enabling the sperm to burrow into the layer. Inside the zona pellucida is a narrow, fluid-filled space just outside the egg cell membrane. The first sperm to make contact will fertilize the egg. After a perilous journey and against incredible odds, a single sperm attaches to the egg cell membrane. Within a few minutes, their outer membranes fuse and the egg pulls the sperm inside. This event causes changes in the egg membrane that prevent other sperm from attaching to it. Next, the egg releases chemicals that push other sperm away from the egg and create an impenetrable fertilization membrane. As the reaction spreads outward, the zona pellucida hardens, trapping any sperm unlucky enough to be caught inside. Outside the egg, sperm are no longer able to attach to the zona pellucida. Meanwhile, inside the egg, the tightly packed male genetic material spreads out. A new membrane forms around the genetic material, creating the male pronucleus. Inside, the genetic material reforms into 23 chromosomes. The female genetic material, awakened by the fusion of the sperm with the egg, finishes dividing, resulting in the female pronucleus, which also contains 23 chromosomes. As the male and female pronuclei form, spiderweb-like threads, called microtubules, pull them toward each other. The two sets of chromosomes join together, completing the process of fertilization. At this moment, a unique genetic code arises, instantly determining gender, hair color, eye color, and hundreds of other characteristics. This new single cell, the zygote, is the beginning of a new human being. And now the cilia in the fallopian tube gently sweep the zygote toward the uterus, where he or she will implant in the rich uterine lining, growing and maturing for the next 9 months until ready for birth.
From the video, you all have understood that what is fertilization. So, fertilization is the process in which the female gamete, the egg or ovum, fuses with the male gamete, which is sperm. So, in short, fertilization is the fusion of egg or ovum with the sperm in order to produce the zygote, which is a single cell. So, fertilization is the process through which zygote is produced as a result of fusion between the egg and the sperm. Okay, let's learn more about this process fertilization, which is really important as it's the first stage for a life to begin. The semen produced by the penis, which is ejaculated into the vagina of the female, enters the vaginal pathway to reach the uterus. It consists of approximately 400 million sperms. But all the sperms doesn't reach the place at where fertilization occurs, that is the fallopian tube or also known as oviduct. So the sperm which enters the vaginal opening will get disintegrated and only around 100 sperms just enters the uterus and then to the fallopian tube, from which only one sperm fuses with the ovum or the egg to form the zygote. So this process is occurring at the place known as fallopian tube and it is also known as oviduct. So we can define fertilization as it is the process of fusion of ovum and sperm at the fallopian tube to form the single celled zygote. So this process is known as fertilization. An egg can survive up to 72 hours while the sperm can survive in the female body till 48 hours. The sperm which enters the vagina is transported to the fallopian tube through the uterus with the help of its tail and the fluid content of the semen. It can travel with the help of the tail at a speed of 1.5 millimeter per minute. The process of fertilization is more possible during the 10th to 17th day of menstrual cycle. Now, this zygote formed should get divided, or this single cell has to get divided repeatedly so that it can become a complete developed fetus. So, next we are going to look at the process of the development of an embryo. Now, let's watch a small video regarding this process. As you all have understood that zygote is a single cell, it gets divided repeatedly, forming a cluster of cells. And within 3 to 4 days, a cluster of cells of 16 to 32 is formed, and this cluster of cells is called morula. Morula is the 16 to 32 cells which is formed by repeated division of the zygote within 3 to 4 days. The morula again gets divided, forming a fluid filled blastocyst within 5 to 6 days. This blastocyst travels down the uterus and gets attached to its inner lining known as endometrium and gets implanted there. This process of implanting of blastocyst is known as implantation. So, the pregnancy begins with the process of implantation when the blastocyst enters the uterus and it gets attached to the inner lining known as the endometrium. Then it is known as the process of implantation, where this gets attached to the endometrium. When the blastocyst gets attached to the uterus, it forms an embryo. The embryo undergoes repeated division as well as differentiation, forming different types of cells, and at last becomes a fetus, and that is completely developed baby. So the process goes like this. Fertilization, the fertilized egg becomes morula, which will have around 16 to 32 cells formed within 3 to 4 days after fertilization. Then it becomes the fluid filled blastocyst from 5 to 6 days, and then it travels down to the uterus, gets implanted into the inner lining, that is endometrium, forming implantation, and the blastocyst attached is then known as embryo. The embryo undergoes repeated cell divisions and differentiation, forming a fetus. That is how the embryo develops as well as the process of fertilization occurs. I hope you all are clear with the concept we have learned about fertilization and the embryo development. So, I'm giving a small activity to each of you to write a story, a short story about the egg and the sperm, telling how they becomes fertilized or how they fuse to complete the process of fertilization, and also about how the formed or the produced zygote develops into an embryo. Hope you all write the short story in your science diary. You all have heard about twins, right? Identical twins, non identical twins. So, in some cases, the fertilization process occurs in some other way. That is, sometimes a single fertilized egg may split to form two zygotes, and that's how identical twins are formed. Here, a single sperm fuses with a single egg, but the fertilized egg splits to form two zygotes that are identical. In some other cases, two separate eggs produced by the ovary gets fertilized by two separate sperms. That's how non-identical twins forms. Hope you all have understood today's concept about fertilization as well as development of an embryo. Have a nice day. Thank you.